Okay, it's going now. You look through this side. Okay.
Do I push anything?
No, just hold. Anyway,
Gotcha.
I wanted to tell a few tales about, we're all getting old, as you as well know, and I have a few tales about getting old that I'd like to share with you. The other night, my wife and I were out on the back deck in the moonlight, and you know, you try to make a compliment. And I said, Chris, in the moonlight, your teeth look just like pearls. She says, who the heck is Pearl, and what were you doing with her in the moonlight? Well, my wife's memory isn't quite what it used to be. But she forgets, like some of us, forgets quite a bit. So the other night, I had to change the password on her computer. I changed it to incorrect, I-N-C-O-R-R-E-C-T. Now when she logs on with the wrong password, which is usually the case, the password, the computer tells her the password is incorrect. So the other morning, I came down early, and she was sitting in the kitchen on a stool, squinting at a screen and pushing numbers, and she says to me, Dick, isn't the internet fascinating? I said, that's the microwave. Now, a few weeks ago, we had a big argument, Chris and I expected to get up the next morning and she'd be mean and angry, but she was quite cheerful. She was talking to my cardiologist on the phone. I had a heart attack a couple of years ago and had a couple of stents put in some arteries. And she said to the doctor, is it true that Dick has to take this medication she's holding for the rest of his life? Doctor said, I'm afraid, Chris, that's true. She smiled and said, good. Hung up and read the bottom of the label on the bottle. No refills. That reminds me of my neighbor John, who lived a few houses down, died quite suddenly last spring, and the neighborhood was shocked how he learned of his fatal condition. Apparently his doctor just called him and said, I've got bad news, John, and worse news. And he said, John says, well, give me the bad news. He says, your test just came in and you only have 24 hours to live. He says, my God, what could be worse news? He says, I've been trying to contact you since yesterday. Then there was my neighbor Joe, lives down the other side of the street, and he's in his early 80s, a little older than us, but he still likes to go out on an occasional Saturday night. And last week he put on his best suit, put a flower in his lapels, splashed down a little Old Spice, still has some of that, and strolled downtown. And he wandered into an upscale cocktail lounge, and there was an elderly, attractive lady sitting alone at the bar. So he sauntered up to her and sat down, ordered a martini, took a sip, and he says to her, so tell me, do I come here often? And then there was the widow, Mrs. Johnson. And this was a tale she told my wife about her most embarrassing moment of her life. She was a widow for a while, no relationships for some time, and was quite lonely. So she took a trip to New York City, and she stayed at a motel just outside the city, nice motel. And she did something she thought she would never, ever do in her life. She looked up in the phone book for a male escort service. And she found a full-page ad of a guy named Tender Tony. So before she lost her nerve, she dialed a number right away. And the man answered, hello, what can I do for you? And she shuddered, she was so excited, she said. So before she lost her nerve, she blurted right out, she said, well, to be frank, I don't want a massage. I want sex. And I want it all night long. And you can bring your whips and other paraphernalia. I want to try everything. How does that sound? Well, that sounds absolutely fantastic. But Mrs. Johnson, I should remind you, you have to dial 9 first to get an outside line. Then there was my you know, when you get older, you always think everybody looks older than you. Well, my neighbor Betty, she keeps very fit. And she goes to the gym a lot. She wears her makeup just right. She made an appointment at Aspen Dental, I guess it is. A place just opened up on Putney Road in Brattleboro. And they put her in this waiting room, and she noticed a thing, a diploma on the wall, DDS diploma. And the name was Robert Lee Bass. And she thought, gee, that struck a chord. That was the same name as a young, dark-haired, handsome athlete she had a secret crush on in high school. So he came out to see her. She, oh, God, no, this guy was old and wrinkly-faced and pot-bellied and thick glasses. And, oh, God, it can't be him. But after he examined her teeth, she felt she had to ask him. She said, Dr. Bass, did you attend Brattleboro Union High School? He said, well, yes, I did. I was a true Purple Colonel. She said, what year did you graduate? He said, 1957. Why do you ask? She said excitedly, well, you were in my class. He scratched his chin a little and he says, what did you teach? Oh boy. He has 2 broken teeth, now he's going to his bed. I had my own age comeuppance the other day. I was coming back from a bachelor party at the Legion, and I stopped at a neighborhood pub for a nightcap, and wouldn't you know, there was an attractive woman sitting at the bar by herself. So I sauntered over, I ordered a draft beer, took a couple of slugs, and I gave her one of my best lines. I said, lovely lady, where have you been all my life? She turned to me and said, well, for the first 2/3, I wasn't born yet. And there's those one-liners to let you know that you're getting old. You know you're getting old when you look in the mirror and you see your father, or your mother, as the case may be, because in every older person, there's a younger person wondering, what happened? And then you know you're getting old when your friends compliment you on your new alligator shoes and you're barefoot. And you know you're getting old when you can't walk by a bathroom without thinking, oh, I might as well pee when I'm here. Same is true of all older golfers and big elm trees. And you know you're growing old. Let me see if I can remember this one. Let's see. I'm going to have to check. Oh, I know this. You know you're getting old when the little old lady you help across the street is your wife. And finally, you know you're getting old when that 4-letter word you use to describe what 2 people can do together in bed is read. I'm going to finish with a quick story about reunions. My uncle told me about this group of Drury football players that used to have their reunion. Before the reunion, they would meet at a local restaurant. And at the 20th reunion, they met at the 4 Acres restaurant because they heard that some of the waitresses had low-cut blouses. At their 30th reunion, they met and agreed to meet the night before the reunion at the 4 Acres restaurant because they had 2-for-1 drink specials. At their 40th reunion, the same thing. They met at the 4 Acres restaurant because the food and wine list was so good. And at their 60th reunion, like this one, they met and agreed to meet the night before the reunion at the 4 Acres restaurant because they had firm handrails and it was wheelchair accessible. And finally, last year, at the 70th reunion, they met and agreed to meet the night before the reunion at the 4 Acres restaurant because they'd never been there before. Thanks for putting up with all my baloney. Now, we are going to have a picture taken, I understand, out in this room to the left after we are done here. Now, before I go, Danny Shapiro is going to come up here and give you a few major facts about North Adams you might not know, or you might know. And if you're old as I, you may have forgotten it. But I think, Danny, you'll have something they don't know.
Dickie, that was great. That was terrific. I'll get you another free meal, Ralph.
Dick's a tough act to follow. It was very amusing, very funny. Let's get your